Hi students, welcome back to this channel English Literature with Idham. Today I am back with another amazing and wonderful topic in English literature, and that it is the ethical and moral concern in English literature, literary theory and the criticism. As we all know that morality is about the sense of good and bad, right and wrong, whereas the ethics is the process of the society to judge something whether it's right, whether it's wrong, and using the morality in the various social situations. So traditionally, ethics and the moral were the human centered, and human was at the center of the creation. As Michel Foucault also said once that man is the invention of the recent date, and one must nearing its end. So which means that the human and the ethics and the morals, they are historical constructed rather than contingent in the stable or the nature. So the sense of good and bad was completely the human centered. It was anthropocentric, and the knowledge was also the human centered, which Michel Foucault later says that all the knowledge is created by humans. So it should be deconstructed and reanalyzed and rechecked. So we see this ethics and morality in literature through the sense of the good versus evil, hero and the villain, justice and the injustice. But now, in the age of science and technology, in this 21st century, we have very deconstructive sense of ethics and morality. And now, ethics are not related to the humans only, but they are related to the non-human agents as well, as a technology, machines, artificial intelligence. So in this video, I am going to put some highlight on all the new trends, emerging areas, and all the recent developments in the ethics and morality, and particularly the representation in the literature. So without wasting our time, let us begin. In classical literature or in traditional sense, we see that the ethics and moralities were relatively they were stable, as there was a good sense of good versus evil, hero versus villain, justice versus injustice. But in contemporary literary theory, especially after thinkers like Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida, and Emmanuel Levinas, ethics are no longer stable because the human itself is no longer stable. And this is where our post-humanism begins, which says that the human is not anthropocentric, or this world, this discourse, this knowledge, this power should not be the anthropocentric. It was traditionally the anthropocentric because human was superior, human was supreme, so it was started by the humans only, but now it has been changed. So human agency power has been given to the non-human agents as well. In non-human we count the animals, machines, artificial intelligence, etc. So this is a long journey from humanism to post-humanism, from human-centric to human non-centric, from human supremacy to the human equality, the human integration with the other species on the earth. Traditionally, humans were believed as rational, they were supreme and central, and they were controlling the meaning and the morality. So sense of good and bad was created by the humans only. Ethics were created by the humans only. Posthumanism deconstructs the idea that these constructed moralities are historically constructed and created moralities socially and culturally are unethical or immoral. So we should again rethink the boundaries, and we should include the non-human agents as well. So post-humanism challenges this traditional rationality, centrality, and the control on the meaning and morality, and it decenters the humanism. And in this concern, we see that Donna Harvey and the Rosie Braidotti, they argue that humans are entangled with the machines. That humans are not uh, isolated, they're not autonomous, but they are hybrid identities. They are entangled with the machines, and our identity is hybrid. That is the cyborg. It's a portmanteau of a word, cyborg, uh, out of cyber and organic. And we have the artificial intelligence. We have the AGI also, artificial general intelligence, and then biotech techniques used on our bodies. And this one concern we can see in one of the most the famous classical novel, The Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, written 1818. There we see that the Frankenstein has created a monster which is not fully human, but it that creature is a kind of monster, half human and half machine. But that creature itself feels, suffers, and thinks. And it shows all the human capabilities and abilities which are traditionally associated with the humans. So there is an ethical question then, that does morality depend on the human being only, or on the ability to suffer? Is it the human only who suffers? It is the human only who feels disappointment? Is it the emotions, feelings, only human centered? And same we can see in the two androids dream of electric sheep, where the androids, a kind of robots, chatbots, they had developed emotions, and there we see that these androids are more empathetic than the humans. They are more emotional than the humans, and the humans in that novel lose the empathy. So this way we can see that the boundaries are collapsed. Traditional boundaries, that everything, these emotions, feelings, empathy, they are the human centered, and are now deconstructed and given to the non-humans as well, like the androids. So the boundaries are collapsed, and the question is that who is more ethical? Is it the humans or the machines? Because the humans have less emotions, less feelings, and less sympathy than the machines. So this is the boundary which is collapsed in this post-human age. Then again we see that various scholars, various theorists, and philosophers have talked about this collapse of the boundaries. And Michel Foucault, is, the concept of biopolitics is well important in this post-human age. So, but Michel Foucault introduces the concept of biopolitics. So, what this biopolitics? That politics is the politics on the life, politics on bodies, and politics on the population, which is also called the politics of life and death. So you might have seen it during the COVID-19, when a few bodies were given the importance and other was rendered helpless and subordinate. And so many people are died without having the um, right treatment, and without having the oxygen, and so many bodies were given the importance. And at that time, the life was big, luxurious. So we see that how the corporates and the capitalists do the biopolitics, for their control on the bodies, on the who they decide that who would live and who would die. So Michel Foucault, in biopolitics, actually highlights this concern in the 21st century. Then there is a work, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, who won the Nobel Prize in 2017. So we see that in Never Let Me Go, there are the cloned bodies. There are the human bodies which are created, and your organs are created just for the donation. So bodies are valued just to donate them to the other people, and their lives are actually predetermined. This shows that how the corporates and capitalists have the complete control on the bodies, and the bodies have the market values. Bodies are the commodified. Here in this novel, when you go through this novel, you would see that the cloned bodies are made just to donate their organs. So there's the commodification of the bodies, are the which are the biopolitics of the bodies. So these bodies are just the biological sources, not subjects, which Kazuo Ishiguro raises the concern in this novel that the bodies are just the biological sources. They are not given the subjectivity, they are not given the due rights, they are not given their agency, their power. They are just a kind of puppet, a kind of product and commodity in the hands of the capitalists and the corporates. So these ideas show the concern of the ethics and what is right and what is wrong. Is it right to control on the human bodies? Is it right or wrong to decide the life and death of the humanity? Who controls the bodies? So there are the ethical concerns which various writers and the theorists have raised the concern, and we see that these ethics have the extension in the age of science and technology, in the artificial intelligence as well. And today, the algorithms decide hiring. When you go to, for any job in any company, there are the algorithms, and they decide that whether you are okay for the job or not. And also, the artificial intelligence predicts the behavior, and it's not the human experience that who predicts the behavior, who is good, who is a good behavior, who is bad behavior. It's the artificial intelligence who tells you that doing this thing is right, this thing is wrong. Earlier it was the human centered, but now it is the technological centered. Also, our data defines the identity. Whatever data you feed on the online digital platforms. Suppose if I want to know somebody, then I can know that person through the Facebook data, through his IDs, through his information provided on the digital platforms. So this way, that that ethics are no more the human centered, but they are artificial intelligence as well. When we talk about all these ideas that how the human bodies are commodities, commodified, how their lives are predetermined, how the bodies are politicized, we raise and talk about very great question, and that is that are we becoming data bodies controlled by invisible systems? Because there are the surveillance technologies which are controlling continuously our bodies. There is a latent power. And this idea is well given by the Derrida, who talks about the aporia. And what aporia is the undecidability. It is the complexity. It is the ambiguity which is created. So what is right and what is wrong is not clearly defined in the post-human age. It is ambiguous. It is a kind of structural aporia. So Jacques Derrida argues that truth ethics exist in moments of undecidability. Because earlier there was the centrality of the moral and ethics center. Human was at its center. It was human who was creating what is right and what is wrong. Because there was always a kind of biasness, a kind of prejudice of the humans to decide what is right and what is wrong. And in few cases, we see that the killing the trees, cutting the trees, and killing the animals was considered right. But posthumanism says that no. We have to rethink of our discourses, of our knowledge, of our ideas. And it also raises the question that when rules fail, when no clear answer exists, this is what the aporia is. And this we see in the trial by Franz Kafka, because there the Joseph K is judged without clear law. There is the ambiguity of the law, the constitution, and justice becomes absurd. There is no justice, there is a confusion and aporia on it. And this is where the Franz Kafka also says that also shows that how the ethics are collapsed into the ambiguity. We can correlate this ambiguity with the AI, like how the autonomous system like self-driving cars must decide that whom to save it, to passenger or to pedestrian. Suppose there are some passengers inside the car, there are some pedestrians walking outside, and that car becomes dysfunctional. So then that automatic self-driving car becomes confused that whether it should save to humans or whether it should save to the pedestrian or the people who are walking outside. And just I'm creating a scenario. Suppose there is an automatic uh, car, driving car, and its brake is failed, and you see that there are two different roads. On one road, there are two people just lying and sleeping, and on the other road, there are five people are lying and sleeping. So whether the car would stop, which way that car would choose, whether the one road where the two people are sleeping or whether the other road where the five people are sleeping, because wherever it would go, it would kill the humanity, it would take the lives. So would it take the 5 lives or would it take the 2 lives? So this is a kind of ambiguity which is created in the artificial intelligence, in the self-driving machines and automatic machines. So there is actually no perfect ethical rule whom to kill in this scenario. And this is where the Derridian ethics work. He says that every decision excludes another possibility. And later on, we see that Levinas takes these ethics beyond the social system. And he shifts the ethics from the system to the relations. And his key idea begins with the face of the other. For example, in The Beloved by Toni Morrison, if I'm not wrong, it was published in 1985. So in this novel, we see that Sati kills her child, whom she calls the beloved. And that killing her own child is morally shocking, because taking the life of somebody is taking the life of the whole humanity. So killing is wrong. It is morally wrong. It can't be proven right. But because her intentions was right, she killed it because she doesn't want her child to be the slave or to see the same trauma which she has been into since millennia. So though her act is wrong, but her intention is right. So there is another scenario, like if somebody steals the money from the bank, but he feeds the poor children out of that money. So though he is morally wrong, but he is ethically right. So there is a kind of confusion which is created in in the post-human aporia, in the post-human ethics ambiguity, and Jacques Derrida has given this kind of idea that there is no set rule that what to decide wrong, what to decide right. And Levinas would ask us the question that can we judge without understanding the suffering of the others? That when Sati kills her own child, can her killing be judged without the suffering of her own daughter? And this is where the artificial intelligence has, because Sathi's act is like a kind of artificial intelligence. She has no face, she has no empathy, she has no ethical responsibility. Now she knows that she is doing it wrong, but she bypasses everything and just does what she is the right. So there's an ethical question that can machines ever truly be ethical without experiencing the other? And this idea is expanding the moral circles in the post-human ethics. And this idea we see in the left hand of darkness, where the genders are fluid and they challenges the fixed human categories. And here, in this way, ethics become flexible, they are contextual, they are inclusive. And in the life of Pi, we see that there is the human and animal relationship. So there is the human and the animal relationship in that life of Pi, and we see that a tiger, Richard Barker, I think tiger's name is, and the Pi, they both are living on the same boat, and there is the struggle for survival. And we see the survival ethics are there. They do whatever is right, and this challenges the idea where that human is completely isolated and different than the human animals. But in this novel, we see that both the human and non-human are taken together. They both are struggling for the survival. And this raises the question that do animals deserve moral considerations equal to humans? Because both lives are important. Where in this novel, Pies and the Richard Barker, that tiger's lives, both lives are important. So this novel raises the question that whether we can take with whether the non-animal, non-humans deserve a moral consideration like the humans. So this the ethical dilemma, which is not human-centered, is long before predicted by the literature, and we see that in the movie I, Robot introduces the three laws of robotics, and we see these three laws in Asimov as well. And what are those three laws? That a robot has to obey the order of its owner without any question. And second thing is that it can disobey the order when that is harmful to the others. And the third law is that a robot should obey the order of its owner, though itself, though the robot itself um, feels the pain or there is some kind of danger or risk to its life, but it should be unconditional and obey the owner. So there are three different laws of the robots which are created by the Isaac Asimov. But these laws fail in the complex situation because, as I earlier mentioned, and created a scenario where the self-driving car becomes confused that whom to save. Suppose a robot is pre-trained, it has fitted some codes. But let's say that that robot has been thrown into the sea. So how would it respond? What would it do? So there are some laws which are beyond the machine's limitations also, and we see them in the literature. For example, in Clara and the Sun, we see that artificial intelligence develops emotional understanding, and that questions the loyalty, love, and sacrifice. This raises a question that can artificial intelligence be possess moral agency? Because the emotional understanding, love, sacrifice, reality. All these things are all these things are human centered. But now artificial intelligence also possesses them. So there becomes a kind of crisis of the responsibility. Because all across all these theories, we see that Michel Foucault says that ethics are shaped by the power, because moral ethics are the historical constructs. They are historically established by the humans, by the society. And Derrida also says that ethics are undecidable, because there are some situations where ethics are not applied, and there are no laws. And Levinas says that ethics is infinite responsibility, because not everything can be judged on the basis of ethics, just the way Sati kills her own daughter. So when we combine these insights with the post-humanism, we see that there is no fixed morality, because um, the fixed morality earlier was created by humans, but we are living in the post-humanism age, where the human is not centered. So when human is not centered, nothing is created by human is centered. So morality is not fixed, human identity is not stable, and there are no clear ethical authority. So this way, literature is an ethical laboratory for the future, and literature does not just reflect ethics; it anticipates the future of the ethics through dystopia, science fiction, post-human narratives, and it also prepares us for AI governance, biotech ethics, and digital identity. So, on the basis of all these discussions, let us conclude that we are entering into a world where the humans are not no longer centered. Humans are not anthropocentric, and where the machines have the ability to take the decisions, and where the life itself is engineered, just the way we see in the Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. The lives is commodified. The human body and organs are commodified. They are engineered. So when the humans are no longer centered, ethics are also not human centered, and ethics and morals should must evolve. So ethics and morals should not be a kind of a fixed code. They are a kind of continuous negotiation, and they are a responsibility towards the responsibility without a certainty. So this way we can say that literature no longer asks what it means to be human, but it asks whether the human is still center of ethics. Because in a world of machines, data, and artificial life, the question is no longer what is right, but who or what gets to decide. So I hope that you understand this lecture, and I'm hoping to come back with another insightful topic. Till then, take care.